There's no questioning that the accident changed him. Koji, are you just gonna let this go? I don't want to, but what can we do? Something better than peeping, Umi shouts, clearly infuriated. I won't be satisfied until I give him peace of my mind. That won't make shish kebab feel better, but it'll at least make me feel better. Yo and Umi are best friends, just like Koji and Fuminori, and it was the relationship between Koji and Umi that brought Fuminori and Yo together. Just as it is natural for Umi to be worried about her friend, it's also natural for her to be angry with Fuminori. I'm going to talk to Sakisaka-kan for myself. You don't have to come. You serious? You go take care of Yo. She's probably really hurt. After she's finished crying, she'll need someone to be nice to her. Wait, shouldn't we switch jobs? You know my personality. If I try to comfort her, I'll just end up making it worse. Yeah, you have a point. What's that supposed to mean? Anyway, just don't go too far. End of the conversation before Umi's mood gets any worse. Koji heads off to find Yo. Oh. I feel awful, miserable, but also refreshed. I finally crossed the line. I knew it would come crashing down like this sooner or later, having become unable to feel anything but disgust for other people. There was no way I could hope to maintain the relationships I've had before the accident. I should turn off Steam. There we go. Today's incident will definitely get back to Koji and Umi, and everyone will be convinced that Sakisaka Fuminori has had a major change of character. Honestly, I don't care anymore. At least I probably won't be institutionalized for this. I need to avoid acting any stranger than I have. If this puts a rift between me and the others, good. Just thinking about the stress I'll avoid makes me feel like a weight has been lifted from my shoulders. I'm fed up with them sticking their noses into my life. It's like they don't care. They make my gut turn just being near me. I've been terrified of them until now, but today I struck fear into one of them. On one hand, thinking about this is a relief, but I'm not entirely without remorse for what happened. The person I just chased off with the verbal equivalent of a nuclear bomb used to be my friend Yo. Even if my senses don't believe it, my mind accepts the theory. I don't have any particular grudge against Yo herself, and I didn't want to hurt her. In retrospect, perhaps I should have just outright refused to talk to her. Yo. She was an attractive woman, and I certainly didn't think badly of her. To be honest though, I was annoyed when Koji and Umi tried to stick us together for the fun of it. I felt like I was being toyed with, and Yo seemed totally oblivious to the fact that she was dancing around their tune. Her cluelessness was irritating. That said, I knew that none of them meant any harm. Back then, I didn't have any reason to hurt the others. Just to get my way. If having a casual friendship with Yo would keep our circle of friends together, I was willing to make that compromise. Now, however, there's no room in my heart for the tolerance necessary. Just go with the flow. If merely talking to someone is an unbearable ordeal, how can I be expected to show kindness? These ruminations have left me exhausted. I want to return to Saya as soon as possible. The thing in the packed trains and crowded downtown streets between here and home saps my will. Catching sight of a nearby bench, I sit down and close my eyes to the horrors of the world. I can't do anything about the stink or the noise. but at least I can manage to calm my nerves enough to rest. When I regained consciousness in the University Hospital ward, the world was as dark as it is now. I hadn't regained my sight, even though my eyes and optical nerves were fine. It must have been an after effect of the accident. Blindness was a shock, but now I know that my suffering was nothing. But my suffering then was nothing. After all, my sense of hearing, touch, taste, and smell were all fine at the time. The real tragedy began when my sight returned. Ugh. The one small mercy that I was able to come on terms with a terrible accident about my neurosurgery while still blind. The words are stretched really weird in this, that's why I keep getting thrown off. Also, I'm sick. I panicked when I first saw the nightmarish hospital and the blood-curdling shapes of the doctors and nurses, but I soon guessed the cause. It chills me to think of what might have happened had I recovered my sight along with my consciousness. Suddenly awaking in what can only be described as hell, I would have no doubt I lost my mind instantly. Soon my disorder spread to the senses of touch, taste, and smell. In the human sensory structure, sight is far more powerful than any of the other senses. The taste of my food, the feel of my bed sheets, the fragrance of my get-well flowers, all became unbearably foul, as my eyes said they should be. Eventually, when even the voices of the doctors became unrecognizable as human, I decided to kill myself. I didn't believe for a second that I could come to terms with this new world. At least, not until I met Saya. One night while I was trying to think of a painless way to die, I found myself succumbing to sleep. Drifting between the nightmares in my dreams and the nightmare in reality, I didn't notice her enter my room. Suddenly there was a face staring curiously down at me from next to my bed. The face was not covered in pus, slime, or earthworm-like feelers. It had small white cheeks, round eyes, a lovely little nose, all things I had never expected to see again. The face was that of a girl, undeniably human and positively glowing with beauty. Ah, I sighed in admiration, savoring the first peace and joy since regaining my sight. Apparently, she had not been expecting such a reaction. Aren't you afraid of me? Looking at the clock, I saw it was exactly 3 in the morning. Not a time for a young girl to be wandering around a hospital. Even someone with no imagination would likely have thought her of a ghost. I, however, wouldn't have cared if she had been a ghost either way. She was a godsend. Who are you? Why are you here? I'm Saya. I'm looking for my dad. I assumed that she was the daughter of one of the night shift nurses or other patients. It was unusual, and not unthinkable for such a child to be wandering around. Rather, it was the hospital security's fault for not locking the doors properly. It's no fun if you're not scared. Wait! I cried, desperately trying to keep her from leaving. It was only after she turned around that I realized I hadn't thought of what to do next. Well? Her eyes drew me into their depths, healing my soul to its core. Through the white haze clouding my mind, I struggled to form a coherent sentence. I shouldn't do this to a girl, but you're the only one I can ask. No longer concerned with propriety, I let words come pouring out of my mouth. Will you let me hold your hand? Saya first looked confused, but then smiled like she just found a new toy. Her smile was like the sun. You're strange, she said, holding up her slender white hand. No one's ever asked me anything like that. Ever so carefully, still catching snowflakes in my hand, I placed my palm against hers. I could clearly feel human warmth in the softness of her delicate fingers. She was there, just beyond the palm of my hand. Thinking back on the joyful tears I shed then, I know that that was the moment that saved me from my fate. This is the first time in half a month that I've touched someone and felt them as human. Ellipses question mark? I can't touch anyone else. I was in an accident. And as an after effect, I can't see people as human. How mysterious. You're interesting, she said, winding her fingers gently around mine. Can I come back tomorrow night? Yes, of course, but are you alright with that? Sure. The night belongs to... That's a weird thing to say. And so our nightly rendezvous began. Sai came to my room at 3 a.m., skillfully taking advantage of the duty nurse's shift change. I was astonished to learn that she was living in hiding inside the hospital. It's so big that I never run out of hiding places, she said, answering my surprise with a nonchalant smile. She told me that she had been living in the suburbs with her father, a doctor teaching at the hospital, but had come find herself all alone when one day he stopped coming home. After tiring of waiting for her father at home, Sai had decided one night to sneak into the hospital, where she lived for over 2 months while searching for his whereabouts. Don't you have to go to school? No. Dad taught me everything I need to know. I'm really smart, you know. She was a strange girl. While she looked and talked like an innocent child, she also had the ability to hide from adults and feed herself. Perhaps her lack of common sense was due to her youth, but the sharp intelligence and deep knowledge she periodically exhibited were not those of a child. But such minor things were of no concern to me. To me, Sai was the only other human in a world gone mad. Her existence meant far more to me than the standards of society. Isn't it dangerous here? Have you ever thought you might be found? Nope, never. I don't have to worry about finding food here. And it's a lot more fun than staying in Dad's house by myself. Isn't that adorable? I looked through the patient list and found the ones who have mental problems, Saya continued, grinning mischievously. Sometimes I sneak into the rooms late at night and scare them. Even if they raise a big fuss, no one believes what mental patients say. They just brush it off as a bad dream. You're a weird little girl, aren't you? Her confession reminded me that the hospital was famous for its ghost stories. Who could have imagined that there was actually a real girl impishly roaming these hallways? So that's why you came to my room at first. Yeah, sorry. Are you mad? While her pranks were hardly praiseworthy, I couldn't bring myself to scold her for the very thing that brought us together. You shouldn't do it anymore. Will you come talk to me at night instead? Yeah, that's more fun for me, too. Whoa. With extreme care, I was able to conceal my sensory disorder. It was glaringly obvious that the doctors had no way to cure me. And the fact that I had just undergone a new treatment, clearly still in trial and error stage, made me even more cautious. How much interest would the doctor show in a patient exhibiting such an unusual side effect? As a medical student, it was easy for me to imagine the clinical coldness of the researchers. For the sake of my dignity, I was not about to become a pitiful guinea pig. And so I hid my everyday discomfort and loathing behind a mask of normalcy, convincing the doctors that any signs of stress were merely a result of hospitalization. Saya was my support. Looking forward to her nightly visits was the only thing that gave me the strength to overcome my daily torture. Having hope can make an enormous difference in a patient's progress. With the aid of my secret nurse, I recovered at a pace that left the doctor stunned. Methinks the story be just a tad weird.